Happy Monday. Greetings from Provo. Yes, I'm still only in Provo. And while I'm waiting for the Georgia-Alabama game to get going here on ESPN, which I currently have muted because I can't stand the yammering of these airheads, talking about all kinds of stuff before the game, which I frankly don't care about. Today's news on the medical front. The various doctors came in, looked at the wounds, looked at pictures of the wounds, looked over my records, and the general consensus seems to be that the infection control doc is going to make the call as to whether I need to be on intravenous antibiotics for another 4 or 5 days, or whether they're going to give me a fistful of clindamycin or something and send me home to Tonopah. Of course, if they decide to do the intravenous antibiotics, the additional 4 or 5 days of same, there's some question as to whether they're going to keep me here, send me to a nursing home in the Provo area, or simplify the transportation issues by shipping me off to a nursing home in Las Vegas. So now you know as much as I do, which is to say, I don't know nothing. The good news is that the health continues to improve. My white blood cell numbers are normal, but we still got some issues with inflammation in the left leg, and presumably the extra days of intravenous antibiotics will continue to help my body beat the whatever nasty bacterium is afflicting me into submission. So we'll see how that goes. Probably have a better idea tomorrow of what's going to be happening over the rest of the week, where I'm going to be, and other news of interest to people. There was a comment left on yesterday's video regarding ebooks and the problem of the powers that be making unfashionable or politically incorrect books disappear from your Kindle or your phone or wherever you happen to be keeping your ebooks. What I would recommend, I haven't run into this problem yet myself, but having had to change computers several times over the last couple of years, what I have taken to doing as a safety measure is backing up my ebooks to an external hard drive, so that if, for example, Amazon runs into issues with copyrights on some otherwise public domain book and has to pull it, I'll still have my copy offline. So I'm not overly concerned with having to go Bruce Willis on these people. If you recall, Mr. Willis went mano a mano with Apple, which was trying to claim that the music he had paid perfectly good money for did not actually belong to him, that he was merely renting the use of it on their devices. And fortunately for common sense and Mr. Willis, the judge says, no. And so it established a precedent that yes, you do in fact own the electronic books or albums or MP3s, whatever, that you've downloaded from Apple or Amazon or whoever. Still, back up your stuff. Don't put it out on the cloud, because that's really just somebody else's computer that you don't control. Just get yourself a thumb drive or get yourself an external drive and back all that stuff up onto the drive. This has been your daily data security tip. I had a couple of conversations with friends back on the East Coast yesterday. An unfortunately very brief one with my man Martin Worcester, who unfortunately called right as my dinner was arriving. And since I was about ready to eat the table and whatever else was in range by the time my food got here, I was not all that interested in a prolonged conversation, for which I apologize, Martin. Give me a call again sometime this week. It's not like I don't have time on my hands. Also had a very long conversation with Kyle Maccabee. We were mostly talking about Heinlein, his books, and particularly the Virginia edition, which is not merely a complete hardbound library of Heinlein's works. It also includes a bunch of stuff that hasn't been released before. For example, there's 2 volumes of Uncle Bob's various screenplays, whether they got used or not, and 3 volumes of his correspondence, which all by itself is worth doing. But anyway, Kyle and I were going through the library, the Virginia edition's contents, and trying to figure out if spending $1,300 on the library, given that there's probably about a dozen or so books in it that I have absolutely no intention of reading again. Read them once so that I could give informed negative criticism of them, and I have no intention of doing that, of reading them again, much less paying for the privilege of having hardback copies on my bookshelves. This is obviously not something I'm going to be spending time or money on in the near future, because as it currently stands, I have a shitload of boxes full of books that I need to unpack, some of which are going to get donated to the Tonopah Town Library, others of which may or may not be sold online. We're going to see how all that works out. I also want to talk a little bit about my man Michael David Bowen Cobb, who is he's kind of changed his approach. He used to have a blog on which he would discuss with obligatory seriousness some of the current issues of the day. He's definitely not in the race ban business anymore, although he has kept his links to the blog on which he used to discuss such things. Anyhow, these days he's writing a lot about the philosophy of Stoicism and applying it to daily life. I find it interesting. He also does some writing about cultural stuff, and he's occupying a unique space. I mean, there may be other people in that space that I'm not aware of, but he's, as a black professional, upper class dude, he is not overly invested in hip hop culture, if at all. Rather, he's a more traditional and low profile kind of aesthete as far as music and fashion and what have you go to. But I strongly recommend looking at his writings, which are on Substack. Most recently, he did a piece on the late Sidney Poitier, who, as far as I'm concerned, is a very underrated actor. Um, he had some really important roles in some movies in the '60s, for particularly In the Heat of the Night and Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And the thing that I remember most about him is that he was a professional actor. He did not get involved in politics. He did not use his celebrity status as an outstanding actor to try and get people to do his to act as extensions of his will, so to speak. You would not see Sidney Poitier out there yakking about how important it was for you peasants to stop driving your filthy Ford pickup trucks and go buy a Prius. Never mind that you live in the middle of Wyoming, where there's not a recharging station to be found for hundreds of miles, and even if there is, it's probably powered by coal anyway. No, he was not that kind of guy, and I personally respect him greatly for that. Go read Cobb's piece on him. It's well worth your time, and that's all I got to say about that. It looks like they're about to kick off here on ESPN, so I can probably take this off mute and enjoy the game, which will hopefully have what I consider a happy ending. Roll Tide, and everybody have a good night.